So it was 1995, and I'd come on an assignment from The Guardian. I'd heard that the BBC was making a film about this very extraordinary close-up magician, and I came to write an article about him. I came in after the BBC had already started, and basically it was very clear the minute I arrived that it was not going well. And essentially, the problem was the director was on at Ricky to produce a particular effect. He wanted a centrepiece for his film. And the more he demanded it, the more Ricky resisted. The tension built and built and built to the point where the BBC and Ricky were really barely talking. In the middle of all of this, I think as a break, we went out to the Huntingdon Library to try and take the tension out of it. He seemed to be altogether in a much better mood on this day. I mean, we all noticed that. And Ricky said to me, "Come on," suddenly. He said, "Come on, let's go and have lunch," which was quite unexpected because he's quite, he can be quite cantankerous, Ricky. I mean, I think he'd admit it himself. He can be quite difficult. And so he said, "Get in the car, Susie. We're going to Sunset Boulevard. We're going to have a lunch together and we'll do the interview." I got in the car. It was me and Ricky in the car. We started chatting, preparing, the interview that we were going to do. And we took the wrong turning off the freeway. And so then we had to find our way back on. And so a journey that maybe should have taken an hour or something from Pasadena, I'm not sure how long it's supposed to take, took double. And it was fantastically hot on this day. So then we got to the restaurant, and it was the worst possible place for an interview. It was full at lunchtime. It had glass on two sides from floor to ceiling. First, there was a 20-minute wait for the table. And then we sat down at a table. Ricky was opposite me, and he was chatting away, and he started to talk about the tension there'd been with the BBC and saying, I think that he regretted that this had happened and how he very much wanted to do this set piece that Paul had particularly asked for, that had been performed by a 19th century magician, Max Malini, at a dinner party. And he started to tell me the story of Malini at the dinner party, the hat, the dollar, and so on. And as he was telling me this story, I think I became aware at that moment that he had his menu open in front of him. So he was partly concealed behind this rather tall menu. And as he was telling the story, he said, and Malini lifts up the hat. At that moment, he lifted up his menu, and on the table in front of me, I think I'll never forget it. I mean, on the table in front of me was this huge block of ice. I mean, it was about a foot square. Really, I can't exaggerate. Huge block of ice that later, when I picked it up, I held with two arms. I remember I burst into tears, and I think that shocked him a bit, actually, because it was such a kind of violent reaction. I just sobbed. And he said, I mean, he can be very gentle, Ricky, in fact, for all that he growls a lot. And I remember he said, "I deceived you, it's what I do for a living in this way." But, he also, I mean, it's a moment I'll never have again. I'll never forget it. I mean, it was a kind of supreme piece of artistry that I witnessed that was done for me. I mean, that's what it felt like at the time. He had produced this extraordinary effect for me. I think I realised in that moment that this was, what we'd all been waiting for, in a sense. I remember looking under the table, there was no water on the floor. The sun was pouring in through these huge windows on two sides, and the ice cube was melting in front of me. I mean, visibly melting so fast that I knew, the ice cube could only have been on the table seconds before I saw it. It was the most extraordinary thing I've ever seen in my life.